Oh, hello, and welcome to Adente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the stands for evil.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have The Strider. So, yeah, Gamer in Yellow is not with us tonight. He is off fighting shadow ninjas somewhere. But we are pressing on. We're taking a break from the Wicker Saga because we really want him to, be here to continue the saga with us. So I chose a story from our the extensive list from the definitive iceberg of creepypastas. And the one I found was The Strider, which apparently does have some notoriety. Like there's some. Like some people online know about it enough to do a lot of fan art of it. If you Google The Strider creepypasta and Google image, you find a fair amount of art for it. However, it is apparently not big enough to make it onto Creepypasta wiki, but it is on Creepypasta Too.wiki. And that's Creepypasta and then 2 as in TOO. But yeah, so you can check it out there. Oh, and of course, it is. The Strider is by. At least it was posted on Creepypasta2.wiki by Pruzel. Though I'm not sure if that's the original creator or if that's just the person that posted it on the website. But regardless, yeah, you can check out the Strider on Creepypasta2.wiki. So, without further ado, I suppose we'll move on to our initial recommendations and then the rest of the show. I'm not going to recommend it.
I am also not recommending it.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in and find out why we gave those fairly negative non-recommendations. Starting with the rundown, featuring The Rock. No, I'm not doing the Rock one. I'm not doing that skit a bit. We're gonna go with Nair though, Nair Ator, since we never get a name for this character. So Nair is walking in the woods one day when they hear a creature nearby, rustling in the underbrush. Thinking it's a deer, they follow it to a clearing where it is revealed it is not a deer, nor is it a not deer. Well, maybe, but that's not deers are for for an episode. For their own episode entirely. But no, it is not a deer, in fact. But it is this large, black, canine-like thing with tapered legs, kind of like it's on stilts. It begins approaching Nair, blood on its mouth. And Nair rightly and finally nopes away from the situation. However, Nair seems to run for hours and gets seemingly lost in the woods as the creature stalks them, which they do note is kind of odd because it had only been a few minutes to go to the clearing and they were near the exit, or they were near the edge of the forest. But eventually, as this creature is stalking them and they can't find their way out of the woods, they do eventually escape out of the woods, where their mom and police were looking for them. It had in fact been hours, and after filing a report with the authorities, Nair eventually goes home and quickly forgets about the whole thing. Until they wake up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. They don't recall the nightmare that they had or whatever that might have woken them up. And then they maybe hear some tapping on a window before going back to sleep, where they then proceed to have a nightmare that they do recall about being chased endlessly by the creature and then eventually mauled as it pounces on their back. That's when they wake up late in the morning and decide to go downstairs for breakfast. It's there that they find their parents are missing. They get worried, fearing that the creature has them, and research some stuff online about it. They learn it's called by the Strider. Credits. um, by some people online, but also that those that do encounter it apparently don't live long enough, or like they live for like a few months before the creature apparently kills them. They confirm with their parents' job that the parents never came in that day. So just finally confirming that like it's not just that their parents like went to work or anything like that. They actually are missing. And that's when Nair decides to walk back into the woods and to the clearing where he first encountered the Strider. And the Strider is there, feeding on an elk. And Nair tells it to switch places with or asks for him to switch places with his parents. And it just straight up mauls Nair instead. Months after this attack, Nair and his parents are still missing. And I'm taking some liberties with this one. Ghost Nair, I guess, warns the reader to not follow strange noises in the woods, which honestly, good advice just overall. And yeah, that's the end of the story. So yeah, that was the story of the Strider. And I suppose now we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grand Inquisitions at this point. And I've got a few, though. Well, I'll just get into it. Starting with this one here. It lead me to a clearing in a part of the forest I had never been in before. So I think for this one, obviously it's like it led me, not it lead me into the clearing.
Isn't it about the same?
No, is it? I thought it was LED, not LEAD when it means lead. Because when I hear
thinking the metal lead,
I think you might be thinking the metal lead. I'm pretty sure it led me is LED. Is it lead or lead me to? LED is the correct way to spell a past tense for lead, or for lead. And then lead is the common misspelling of the past tense of the verb lead. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, where a gamer somewhere is like
Buffalo.
Because again, like you said, like lead is LEAD, the metal lead is LEAD.
Yep.
But then lead, past tense of lead, is LED. Anyway, I'll move on to the next thing I have. I relaxed a little, but I was still tense from that fact I can't get out. From that fact, I can't get out. So I decided to fix this a little bit. So, but I was still tense from the fact that I couldn't get out. And then the next one I have here, so up to this point, I've been past tense, and then we get this. I hear a voice ahead of me, so I sprint to it. I finally emerge from the forest on the sidewalk. So first off, sidewalk should be one word. It's two words in the story. But secondly, welcome to my tense talk. So I heard a voice ahead of me, so I sprinted to it. I finally emerged from the forest on the sidewalk. And then I have another one that I noticed as I was reading through the story. I wonder what had woken me for a moment. Then I decided I just had a nightmare, but I don't remember it. So more tense talk, and honestly, this might be the last one I do. I literally wrote like this might be the last one I do in the story as it continues with if it continues with this. And spoilers, yeah, the tense discrepancies continue. So really, just folks, reread your story and try and smooth out those tenses when you're writing a story. That's my axe to grind. Camping. Yeah, exactly. We are not, in fact, wigwams or teepees. We are not tents.
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on. So the way I would have fixed this sentence, and this is the only time I'm going to fix. This is the last time I'm fixing tense problems for the story. But I would have fixed it with I wondered what had woken me for a moment before I decided I had just I had just no before I decided I just had a nightmare I couldn't recall. Again, just the story up to that like earlier on was past tense, and then the story starts kind of like leaking into present tense, and it just really made no sense to me. So, but that's all I've got for Grammar Inquisition. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
Well, I have an it story.
All right. And now, an it story with Mikey, the E stands for evil. Take it away.
It was late afternoon, and I was walking home. It led me to a clearing in a part of the forest I had never been in before. It was almost 15 feet tall and had black, shaggy, thick fur. Its face seemed oddly dog-like, and it had large, almond-shaped, blank black eyes. Its legs were long and spindly, and ended in a sharp point. It paused for a moment, as if sensing what was nearby. Then it looked directly at me. It seemed like the creature could see my soul. It was called a strider. It hunts animals and tears off their legs before feasting on their bodies. It was time that my parents came home from work for their break, but they didn't. It quickly looked at me and began to slowly creep towards me. It made no sound as it stalked. Finn.
Wow. So first off, that was quite the succinct rundown again through the it stories. But also it almost kind of like recaptured the story where like this was happening in this guy's like backyard or something like that. And so like, oh, this is okay. My parents will save me. Like they'll be home any minute. And they never came home because they like decided to miss their lunch break that day, thus dooming their child. But yeah, that's what happens when you use its at the beginning of sentences. And that's why Mikey does this, is to construct construct these little it stories to see if we can find anything funny out of it. But I will say, like, some of these it's I know like why you do this, but I mean I will say to give the story some credit, like when it comes to like monsters, often they use it as sort of like a gender neutral term like for the creature, because like it does, like we don't always know like the gender of a monster, like and often monsters are just like called its or things. So but again, then we wouldn't have if we had that, if every story was like perfectly like grammatized and whatnot, we wouldn't have a silly thing where like this is all taking place in this kid's backyard and this kid is just doomed because his parents were tardy to for their lunch break.
Yep.
That's my headcanon now, is like the parents were actually at work and some of that. It just they doomed their child. But I guess that's it for the grammar inquisition.
Yep.
All right. I suppose then we'll move on to actual thoughts. Start with this one here. I was almost out of the forest when I saw a bush rustle, and I heard quiet steps. They were rapid. I thought it was a deer. There aren't many deer, and I love to see them. So I followed. So I followed the noise. Okay, so just already establishing that this is in Derpland. Got it. Honestly, off to a great start personally with the story of just being in the woods and like something horrific's gonna happen in the woods because it's already bringing back memories of like my own experiences of walking on like forest trails, specifically at night. I think Mikey was actually you were in that one. You were in that encounter, or you were with us when we had that encounter in the woods of like hearing something off to the side of the woods, but like we did the smart thing and like went to the trailhead and then we brought it up what was like happening probably. I.e., we were being stalked by like coyotes or something.
I don't think I was there for that one.
Oh, maybe not. It was like the whole group of our friend group at the time. But
that was more Captain Slenham and Dr. Leviathan.
Yeah. Fair. But again, the story started off semi-strong, except for like the fact that this kid just like, follows the noises in the woods. Because like I always say, the forest be scary, yo. Like it's just creepy. Like don't trust things in the woods. And then when the character finds and this is the next thing actually kind of goes into my next thing, where the character gets into that clearing. The moment it set eyes on me, I knew it was a mistake to follow the strange noise. ADR. That said, this is like a paragraph into the story, so I gotta give this story props for just diving headlong into the thick of it. Like, we're not wasting any time getting to the meat and potatoes of this story and its horror. And then the next thing I have here, I ran as fast as I could in one direction, but what seemed like hours of running, and I still couldn't find the end of the forest. I knew I had only followed that sick creature for a few minutes, but hours of running couldn't get me back. I was lost. Ended up in the backlogs, I see. Just the endless liminal forest. Also something would get tired of running for hours. There, I covered the time thing that Gamer always has an issue with. But actually, I do like how this story also questions the wrongness of like running for hours. Like, yeah, it feels like they've been running for hours. And the story kind of addresses it, but like not in a way I wanted it to. But like they do questions like, oh, like it seems like I've been running for hours, even though it was only a few minutes to get from like where I was to the clearing, and like basically like they should have gotten to the clearing, like to the exit by now, or they should have gotten to the edge of the forest by now. They kind of address it. I really just want to see a story where a person goes, no, seriously, I know how dumb it sounds, but I literally ran for hours. Like, once I started, I couldn't stop. And the weirdest part was I wasn't getting very tired. At a certain point, I wondered if it was a dream or some kind of nightmare. Like, I want that in a story sometime. Like, somebody like running for hours in the story, but like it's not a metaphor, or it's not like I don't know what that would be. Like, is it literal, or it's not figuratively? It's literally they've been running for hours. And they suddenly realize that they've been doing that, and like they become aware that their body is doing something that they're not fully like comprehending. I just think that would be really interesting if like a story actually like had someone really address that wrongness. Just like throw that, like just to flip that trope on its head. But I digress. I'll move on to the next thing I have. I guess I had been in that forest for a while, and my mom got worried. I got home and forgot all about that monster in the endless forest. Really? Don't think that. I don't think that's that's something you would forget so easily. Especially since it doesn't seem like any time passes. Like, it's not like, oh, months went by and I eventually forgot about the monster. No, like this seems like it, like he like got home and instantly forgot about like encountering some horrible monster in the woods and running for hours in the woods. Like, You guys filed a report with the authorities about it. Like you had police looking for you. That's not something you'd easily forget. And to this kind of end, I really kind of feel like there should have been some like maybe elaborate a little bit more in the story about it. Like it would have been cool if perhaps or if like there had been a little bit more information, like have elaborate a little bit more. Like it's like maybe it's like if it was that night where like and it wasn't that he just forgot about the whole thing. He was trying to put it out of his mind that night, or have it be that like a few months had passed or like a few weeks had passed, because like give us like a little bit, because like time will make you eventually forget it, or like kind of like dampen some of that trauma. But we need to have that kind of like mentioned in the story, because otherwise we're a couple of chuckle fucks online that are criticizing like all right, no time has passed, so like you just immediately forgot about this weird bullshit that happened to you like earlier that day. But yeah, I just feel like that part of the story could have been elaborated a little bit more. And also kind of just going on back to like the fact that he was running from this creature and like seemed like be running for hours, and like there was some kind of like that kind of situation of like he couldn't find his way out of the woods, and the creature was just kind of like stalking alongside him and such. The story does elaborate a little bit on the wrongness. But I think it would be cool if perhaps one of the creature's ability, like, and maybe this is like an ability of the creature, but I think it would have been like, it would be really cool if this creature also just has like an ability where it's like creates has like a living gravity well or like a time dilation around it. So like it alters the local like space time around a person, or a person that's like in proximity to it will perceive time differently. So like the kid thinks that he's running for like what seemed like hours, but like to them it wasn't actually that long. But outside of this like bubble that the creature exudes, hours are going by because it creates this like natural like kind of time dilation. Sort of like how like a black hole, like when you get closer to a black hole, like time starts to slow down for you, but like, or the rest of the world, like time slows down for you, but like outside of the bubble of influence. But to you, like you're moving around normally, but like outside of that bubble, like everything's moving like far slower, even like almost at a standstill. Where was I going with that? Yeah, I just thought the creature, like, it would be cool if the creature actually had like a power that like caused this, like, I was running for hours and I got lost in the woods as a result of that. Like, rather than like it being just like the forest is the liminal space, the creature just exudes a bubble of time dilation. But I'll move on to the next thing I have. So this is when the kid like goes downstairs and like is finding the fact that his parents are gone. I knew I didn't have a guardian angel because if I did, then that creature never would have looked at me. And then I'm just like, shows you this creature is your guardian angel. Monsters and other childish things fodder. Turns out you have a monster friend. The worst monster friend. It gets you lost in the woods and then it eats your parents. Or at least makes your parents disappear. The next thing I have here. Yeah, this is the next thing, again, more on like the missing parent stuff. I thought a bit about the creature and that it might have kidnapped my parents, or worse, it could have killed them. I went online and searched around. I only found a small bit of information about the creature. I was like, okay, so again, like he goes downstairs for breakfast. Like it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. So like he woke up late. His parents aren't around. So he initially is like, oh, like he like kind of like thinks like, oh, maybe they're just like they're at work. He doesn't check. And then he's like starts worrying that maybe the creature got them. So then he begins searching online about this creature and so that. I was like, whoa, hang on, slow down. You just said you'd figured that they'd gone to work. Because believe me, I know what it's like to get a little excited in a situation like this. But maybe call your folks first, or like call their work, or check the driveway to see if their cars are in the drive. Before you get before like try ruling, do a little bit of later, like a little bit more investigation to rule out the mundane explanations about like the odd things before just jumping the gun and thinking a cryptid ate your parents. Yeah. And then we get this part and like kind of the description of the creature. So we had the description earlier about the creature like kind of being like a canine-like creature, and like it had like its legs tapered into like almost like stilt things. And then when he's doing research on the creature, like he finds out it's the strider. I found, and so this is the quote I have also. I also found a few other names that people called that thing: Stiltwalker or Forest Strider. And honestly, between this, the description from earlier, and the image provided on the wiki, and honestly, like basically just the art that you find when you Google image the Strider creepypasta, I really do like the creature's design, and it kind of because it invokes the same kind of mysterious vibe that the Stiltwalkers from Mad Max Fury Road give me. Like we encounter that, like there's a scene in Fury Road, I guess spoilers, where like as they're driving at night, like across like the desert wastes, they come across this like mire, and there's just these like stilt walking people, and that's it. Like that's the only description. That's the only scene we see of them. Like just these like stilt walking like beings or people, and they're just kind of mysterious. And that's kind of the vibe that this creature was giving me initially. Now, this creature in the story obviously gives a little bit more of an animosity because it's eating creatures, and it's potentially like it mauls our narrator at the end, and presumably his parents. But I do like the look of this creature. It is very much a like creepypasta coded like mystery cryptid. Like a traditional, like kind of, or like a kind of like your traditional creepypasta coded cryptid. And then we get to the end of the story, and I'm just going to read this bit. It quickly looked at me and began to slowly creep towards me. So this is when he confronts the creature in the clearing again, and like basically like calls it out for like take me instead, like give my parents back kind of thing. It made no sound as it stalked. When it was close enough, it lunged at me, just like my nightmare, only I didn't run away. Months passed, and the news of the murdered child had died down. No one had seen me or my parents since the murder. The Strider still walks the forest, in search of its next meal. If you enter the forest in late afternoon, then be prepared and don't follow that strange noise. And that's the end of the story. And I'm just like, and I got to this point, like after reading that paragraph at the end of the story, and I'm just like, wow, this story just goes full on Ghost Rider or Ghost Writer. Like, who was like, and I was a ghost the whole time telling you this tale. Also, is the child that was murdered Nair? It says that a child was confirmed murdered. Was even in the news, like the kind of thing, but also that Nair and their parents have been missing since the murder, which it kind of separates the murder from them being missing. Like, did the authorities not identify the dead child as Nair? Is there just another murdered child on top of like Nair and his parents going missing from this? I guess I think it's supposed to be that like the child is Nair, but for a minute there, it like kind of forgets that it's talking in the first person and kind of goes like third person almost.
Yep.
Like at the end here, it almost didn't like it couldn't decide whether it wanted to like have this last paragraph be like somebody else telling the story, and then it decided to commit to having Nair continue telling the story, even though he's technically a ghost or just missing. It leaves the ending and kind of leaves the story as a whole a little convoluted or a little confusing, and unfortunately not in a not entirely good way. So, but Yeah, that's what I've got for the Strider. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
All right. Well, I've already gone over the ending about how Nair dies, but somehow we get this story.
Yeah. Who was phone? I will say, sorry, not to cut you off, but I will say there is something to be said about this ending, like that kind of ending, because like that is sort of like a hallmark trope when it comes to telling a campfire story. Like when you see it all the time in like media and also like in older campfire like creepy stories where like and the murderer's still out there. In fact, the murderer's me. And then like they just like get up and like do a little bit of theatrics to try and scare the little kiddies that they're telling the story to. But or they'll have somebody in the wings basically like do that jump scare. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, the story doesn't really tackle it very well.
No. It really doesn't. Yes. So I'll start with some loosely connected tissues.
Okay. So we here love a good connective tissues.
So I played a game recently that had a relatively big dog that chases after you.
Nice.
And it's set in an older style village and forest type thing. So it seems rather similar, and that's what my headcanon was for this monster when it was chasing.
What was the game?
It's called Indica, Indika.
I think I've heard of that. I think I've heard of this game. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
It's a game where you play as a nun.
I've seen it. I've watched a demo of this game.
Yeah, and basically the devil is on your shoulder the entire game.
Yeah. Well, aren't isn't like it kind of like the devil on the character's shoulder is technically the player, or is that something? Maybe I'm thinking of it's like what is it, Hellblade? I think the Senua saga is sort of that, where like some of the various voices in her head, or like some of the voices that she talks to in her head, because she's got a she hears voices and different personalities in her head. Technically, the player is one of them, helping her guide her through the story. But
yeah,
but okay, yeah. So
anyway, so that was my connective tissues.
Fair.
Anyway, so on to my next extra lot. So the monster is basically described as being a large dog that's named a Strider, and yet Nair was able to outrun it.
I think
like when it has a name like Strider, you expect it can run.
Yeah.
As soon as you see it, you're doomed.
Well, yeah, totally. 100% agree. I do think that like I think the story was trying to kind of get across that like the Strider is like playing with his food. Like it was just because it was just kind of stalking the kid was like it says like the kid was running for like hours in the forest. And then he looked back, and the creature was like right there, just stalking him. Like it was keeping up with him, like just kind of like playing with him.
Well, okay, so I just had a funny visualization, because it does, I think, mention at some point that he follows his mud tracks back into the forest.
Yeah.
So what if he just got stuck in the mud and the monster's just standing there?
Yeah, he thinks he's running. It's just like, or he's not even moving his legs. He's just like kind of doing the motions, trying to get away. Like, oh god, yeah. Kid's just constantly got like delirious with fear. He thinks he's been running. Actually, could be a cool ability of the creature. Like it makes you think that you're running when really you're just like it makes you think that you've activated your like flight response, but really it's just your like fugue state as you're just like paralyzed with fear.
And then, yeah, my next actual thought here, and this is, I guess, my number one gripe, is that the monster barely does anything. Like,
Yeah,
we get a visual of it standing in a clearing.
Yeah.
And then the next time we see it, it's in a dream sequence.
Yep.
And then the next time we see it, the kid goes back to the clearing, and the monster's like, okay. And then
it just mauls them. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more of a problem with the story's like length. Like we didn't get enough time with the creature. There wasn't enough details about the creature, like what it does and stuff like that. And that is part of the problem with the story is like there are details that like there should have been like some more like kind of meat on the bones as to like things happening in the story, but also like like what like this creature is just sort of like it is in a way it is just a wild animal in the woods that this kid has encountered. Because it acts very much like just a wild animal in the woods.
And that's also part of my gripe is that it could just be a bear.
Yeah,
like you replace the strider with a bear.
Yeah, fair.
And
although I do like I do like the stilt like the tapered like legs. So it's like like we were back in the Ichor Falls days, we were talking about like the still wolves. This creature is actually just like a stilt wolf. Just your Derpland stilt wolf. Or a stilt bear if you want to keep like the bear motif to it. It's just a bear or a wolf that like its leg like, it doesn't have paws, it just has these like horrible tapered like appendages.
Yeah. But the problem is we don't get that. Like we get barely anything from this monster. We get a drawing.
Yeah, we get a drawing. We do get a very brief description at the beginning. Like the description is, where is it here? Where the hell is it? It's so small. Okay, running in the woods. Oh, here, yeah, it's in the first fucking paragraph. Hang on. Yeah, it was almost 15 feet tall and had black, shaggy, thick fur. Its face seemed oddly dog-like, and it had large almond-shaped black eyes. Its legs were long and spindly, and ended in a sharp point. Honestly, I kind of with you. Like, I'm now starting to see this as like one of those like horrific, like creepy, like emaciated bears. Like after they've just gotten out of like hibernation.
Yeah, or
what's that?
Almost
one bear?
A furless bear.
Like a bear with mange.
Yeah.
Just like a bear with mange and just like it's been blackened by some kind of like disease. Like I think that might be what this creature is. Not to mundanify the story, but I think Nair just encountered a horribly emaciated like an illness, like a plague bear, like in the woods. And then had the unfortunate they got spooked and or maybe even like rolled sand from seeing this horrific like thing of nature, escaped, had some nightmares about it, got freaked out when they couldn't find their parents because like their parents went on like a drive without them, I guess that day. And so they then had the unfortunate again because this kid's like again, but from the sounds of it, this child it's a child. If the child that was murdered is this character, then like teens or under teens goes back into the woods because they're unsupervised and basically just like ends up encountering this creature that was probably in the same location because if it's got rabies or like an illness, it's going to act strangely or act abnormally because it's got diseases and it's kind of like its mindset and is all out of whack. And then like the kid provokes it and it mauls him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I hate to mundanify it, but I think this kid just died from a plagued bear.
Yep.
We cracked it. Mythos Buster's done. Busted. So the Strider is just an unfortunate emaciated plague bear.
Yep.
No, hang on. No, not Mythos, but decrypted. There we go. Not a cryptid, just an animal. Just a series of unfortunate events.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that's into my actual thoughts.
Well, thanks for ruining my my idea for this creature. I do still like it as a creature, but I do think like I do also like think that this story is really just like from the perspective of a child encountering a poor sickly bear in the woods and thinking it's some kind of like horrible creepypasta monster. I think that would actually be a really cool way of like flavoring like a creepypasta cryptid or something like that. It's just like the story reports that, and then like after the story that we get, like cut out the part where like so the story cut the part out of the story at the end where like it like Nair's talking from beyond the grave, like have Nair die, have this hideous creature eat eat Nair, and then we get like a horizontal separation line, and then we get like a news article about the death of Nair from like an actual like news report, and how the authorities did find or was able to track down this poor emaciated bear, and just basically have the story be a tragedy where like this kid again just show like kind of like the kind of twist up and or like show like sort of like the dark side of a child's imagination. Like, I think that's how you'd like save this story in a way, or like make it better. Is treat it like a creepypasta up until the end of the character's existence, until they get mauled by the monster at the end, and then kind of and then peel back the curtain and show like the truth of the situation through like a news report about like the after action report from like the authorities and a reporter, and like reality is this kid like encountered this poor bear and it mauled him. So thanks, I hate it, but also good job at like making the story kind of better. And I think with that we'll move on to final thoughts. So yeah, I'm still not going to recommend it. It's sad because I did really enjoy the core concept of that's here. Like again, I love myself a good cryptid. I love myself a creepy story that's in the woods. But this needs editing, and not just grammatically, but like it also needs like some narrative editing. I just it just feels like it needs more meat on its bones. I do think actually the thing that we but on that terrible segue, like we were just talking about, like how we just sort of like brainstormed. I do think like rewriting the ending to have it actually just be like a plague bear that the kid was encountered and provoked and got killed by, and having it like start as a creepypasta, like a traditional creepypasta, and then turn out to be just like a horrible like lesson in like the dark side of childhood of like leaving your child alone and like their imagination running wild, like that kind of stuff. I think that is sort of like a cool way to salvage this story, to salvage this creepypasta. Because as it is, it's a short, it's like barely like 2 pages, and it's barely 2 pages because it's missing a bunch of stuff. or it's like there's a lot here missing, or there's a lot of holes here. And aside from like a cool image that keeps getting drawn, it seems this creature is just sort of your run of the mill, like traditional creepypasta forest monster. So, like all that said, I do like the Strider entity. Like it does invoke a cool look, but the story around it is unfinished, or at least it feels it's unfinished.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm not going to recommend it. Mikey, these stands for evil.
Yeah. As I talked before, the creature is called a Strider, yet it doesn't seem to move, or at least we don't see slowly. It move. Yeah,
yeah, it stalks. It doesn't stride. It should be called the Stalker.
Yeah, and like I want more of the monster, like which we don't get a lot of. And because we don't get a lot of it, we could just be a plagued bear, as we pointed out.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's mundanified and
it's also kind of sad.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, sadness is also fine with a horror story, because it can, like, tragedy is a horror story. So,
yeah. But the ending where Ghost Nair is telling the story is just, it's a trope in creepypastas, and it's one that needs to die.
Also, I just got, like, now that I'm actually looking at the wiki article, the way the paragraphs are laid out is so weird and random. Like, I'm just gonna point this out. Like, there's the one here. So like, the last two paragraphs, and I do in quotes 2 paragraphs because like they're barely like several lines. So first paragraph, second last paragraph. The Strider stood tall and strong over a decapitated cow elk. There was gore and entrails everywhere around the carcass. I felt like I was going to be sick, but I spoke to the creature. If I give you my life, will you leave my parents alone? I yelled at the hideous creature. That's the end of the second last paragraph. The beginning of the last paragraph is this. It quickly looked at me and began to slowly creep toward me. It made no sound as it stalked. At no point does the Strider stride. When it was close enough, it lunged at me like my nightmare. Only I didn't run away. And then we get, after that sentence, we get this. Months passed and the news of the murdered child had died down, blah, 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 and it goes on like, that should be the start of the paragraph. not the part where the
halfway
like
through.
Yeah, because like it's separated like the encounter with the creature, but like months passed, like time has passed between the two scenes.
Yeah.
So
that's a grammar issue with the paragraph.
Yeah,
formations.
I'm just now noticing it, but yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be like could definitely, again, just hammering home the story needs to be edited and not just like both grammatically and narratively.
Yeah. So with all that said, I'm still not going to recommend this story.
That's fair. But yeah, so I guess that'll do it for this week. So 2 non-recommendations. If the story was fleshed out a little bit more, but just gonna keep kicking that dead, emaciated bear. No, I was gonna keep kicking that dead child. But yeah, no, it had some potential. Like the core idea is interesting, but like the story does not live up to the drawing, as it were. And yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Some of us are on Blue Sky. Mikey is at the E Stands for Evil, and I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah!
Yeah.
And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To all our patrons, help us support the show. Thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, writing and posting these stories online, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Now's a good time to mention we are a part of a podcast network, Crit in the Night, an actual play and creepypasta podcast network. We're there alongside our sister podcast, One Less Die, and our cousin podcast, The Role-Playing Exchange, for things that go crit in the night. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East Time for Evil.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.